jumping into a Honda ADV150 review. So, I wanted to do this review in kind of short order because, as it happens, another bike I'm really interested in came up for sale, and in order to make space in the garage, something had to go, and that something was this scooter. Mostly, I want to cover the pros and cons and the use case for this bike. So I'm going to jump right in with cons, and really for the most part a lot of them are pretty small. Like, there's not a lot of huge drawbacks. Price will be one of those, and we're going to compare it to a few other models, but for a scooter it's a bit expensive, if I'm honest. At $42.99 MSRP, if you get one at MSRP, that's a chunk of change. And there are other small bikes that are available which you could argue offer more for the same price or for a similar price. Now, another one for me is ergonomics. If you see my videos before, you may have heard me mention the seat. The seat is not particularly comfortable. I find that I get about 30 minutes to an hour max on this seat before I am uncomfortable. And it looks quite large and inviting, so, you know, on first inspection and just sitting on it, you would think, oh, that doesn't look too bad. It should be reasonably comfortable. It's quite large, or space. But when you actually sit on it, it doesn't really feel like that. It feels cramped and like it pushes you forward and there's not a lot of space. Now, you know, I'm a 5'9", 200-pound individual, so if you're smaller, that may be different. But I would also note that the seat is fairly high. It's 31 plus inches. And while that alone isn't the tallest seat height ever, you'll find that when you sit on it, it splays your legs forward and out quite a bit. And that makes the reach to the ground hard. Even I can't flat foot both feet on the ground on this bike, despite its low seat height. And there are other bikes that have taller seats that I can do that with, because they're narrower through the leg, and that's pretty much as simple as it is. I think that there's some accessories that are really cool, and there's others that are just kind of useless. It has a key fob. There's no key, no physical key that opens this thing. And the key fob has two buttons on it. It has one for an unlock and it has one for an alarm. And frankly, I never use either at all for any purpose. I just don't see how they're particularly useful. More often than not, I find myself searching for the key fob, trying to remember where I put it. Did I stick it in the cubby? Is it in my pocket? Just making sure that I have it when I go to open the thing or take off. You do have to have the key fob with you in order to turn the ignition switch to the lock position and then open the seat. Now, the lock position is not the same as the run position, so this is another gripe of mine, is that if you start the bike up and it's warming up and you need to throw something under the seat while it's warming up, you have to turn it off and turn that dial back to the unlock position, which is exactly the same as if you had a key bike where you'd have to turn it off and then use the key to open the seat. So there's no advantage there to not having a key. And more often than not, I find it irksome, honestly. I like that it has a 13 on the rear and a 14 on the front. It gives you a little bit bigger wheel and tire to roll over obstacles. It is an adventure scooter after all. However, those sizes are really odd. You can find 13-inch tires for scooters, but 14 is kind of out there. The ones that are available are all street. Now, comparatively, if you had bought something like a Yamaha Zuma or a Honda Grom with 12-inch wheels, there are really nice knobby tires that are available. I think Maxxis puts out a set, and there's a few other ones, and those are great. So if you want a little mini moto to go on adventures with, you have access to those knobby tires, but not for this thing. Now, that said, there are plenty of pros. One of the pros I like, as long as we're talking about tires and adventuring off-road, is that this middle section here, this section between my legs, is built up, and it has extra frame support in there, unlike just having a complete flat section for your feet to sit on, which gives you more confidence that the frame is strong enough to go off-road and go over bumps. And to that end, this bike also comes with Showa suspension front and rear. Now, I believe it is 5.1 inches of travel, I want to say. I think it's 5.1 in the back, and I think it's 4 point something in the front, which is pretty good. You know, it's much better than pretty much any other scoot I've ever had or that I've ever ridden. And over bumps and cracked roads and back roads, it's pretty comfortable. If the seat were a little bit nicer, this thing would be one heck of a plush ride. And I really enjoy that. Ooh, a lot of water running across the street there. And I like some of the other amenities that it comes with, like this adjustable windshield. If you want a little more wind, put it down. You want a little bit less, put it up. It does a halfway decent job of getting air off your chest also. It's not bad. I also like the LCD dash and a lot of the other instruments, the way they're set up, including these mirrors. Now, the mirrors themselves are really nice. You know, they're big. I can see a lot. And they don't vibrate when I'm at speed. When I'm going 60 miles an hour, they're good and clear. Now, other pros, obviously, efficiency. Efficiency has to be a pro with a bike like this. You know, Honda claims on their website, I think, 134 mpgs, which is not realistic in my opinion. I think on my best day ever, it was 98. On most good days, it's 92, and when I'm out here in the hills and I'm going faster than I normally would, hauling at 65, going up hills, it's, you know, in the mid-low 80s. That said, that's still really good. That's great efficiency, and with a 2.1 gallon fuel tank, you have pretty good range. I can go quite far. Throw a jerry can on the back, and you've really got a long-haul machine. This has a 149cc 80-degree single-cylinder engine, making, I want to say, around 14 and a half horsepower from the factory, something like that. It's not a lot. And the efficiency that you're able to get with it and the power you're able to get with it is actually pretty impressive. Other pros, LED lighting, front, rear, and on the turn signals. I really like that. Not just because it looks good, but because it's functional. The one downside I've found so far is that it's pretty low. The lights are pretty low in front of you, so it's hard to see through corners. I think that can be adjusted, but I've never really taken the time, given that I don't do a ton of night riding with this bike. So maybe that could be better, but that's definitely a downside to it. That said, I still think overall the lights where they do shine are really bright and they look really good. It has DRLs on the front. I love it. I think it's a really nice setup. And this switch here for your blinkers, super crisp. Like when you knock it from side to side or hit it in, it's not squishy and vag. You know you clicked it. I really, really like how crisp it is. In fact, it's better than pretty much every other bike I've had, including my Africa Twin. If you want something that's really simple, maybe you're running and getting groceries, or you're going to work, or you're just going on a little adventure and you just want to take it easy, this is great. It's very easy. It deals with traffic wonderfully. And I like having that simplicity sometimes. There's days when I want the big adventure bike and I want the manual transmission and I want to have this elaborate ordeal to go through. And there's times when I just want to jump on something simple and go, and I don't really want to think about it a whole lot. And this is perfect for that. Another thing too, this brake right here on the left where your clutch would be, that's your rear brake, and it has a parking brake on it. I love that. When I'm sitting somewhere and it's on a hill, or if I need to stop on a hill and I don't want to roll back or have to get off and put the kickstand down, you can just stop and just pull in the brake and put on the emergency brake there. Under seat storage, I really like it. Last time I took this thing to the grocery store, I was able to get all of my groceries my personal groceries in it without issue. Now, not like I'm usually buying a ton, and in fact, when I do runs with this thing, oh, hey, adventure friend, what's going on? When I'm doing runs with this thing, I'm usually just getting kind of the bare essentials or snacks or whatever. And more recently, with a friend, I went to the grocery store and we were both on bikes. We didn't have a lot of storage, but I had this, and we were able to get a 12-pack of beer, a frozen pizza, and a cheesecake under the seat without squishing anything, and that's pretty awesome. I think that's everything. I want to get to a pull-off area. We're going to do a little wrap-up, and then I'm going to talk about why would you get this bike over something else, especially the other options at or near the price point of this motorcycle. All right, I'll catch you there. We made it, and now it's time to get this camera on that tripod and wrap up. Wrapping up our thoughts on the Honda ADV150, who do we think this is for, and why get this over other bikes that are at a similar price point? So, brand new MSRP on this is $42.99. Other bikes in that range would be some of the Royal Enfields, maybe the Scram 411, that's pretty close, a TW200. There's lots of adventure-y little dual sports, or a KLX 230S that you could get instead. So why get this? Well, I think this is probably for someone who's looking for a vehicle that's a little bit more well-rounded. It's certainly not lighter, and it's certainly not more compact. A similar wheelbase, it's a little bit shorter on the seat, but it's quite wide. So it's not gonna store easier, and it's only a little bit less expensive. But if you want to run errands with it, it's easier to do that with than those bikes, unless you buy additional luggage. This comes with storage included under the seat. And you can also get a rear rack, among other things that's pretty available. And I think that it has a little bit more weather protection from the fairing down here to the windscreen up here. And that it's just generally a more usable vehicle that can still go out and go down gravel roads. If you live in a state where there are lots of 45 and 55 country roads that can take you across the state, this will do that happily. You may not be able to cruise at freeway speed, but it'll take you down all the back roads like most small dual sports will, and it'll do it pretty well. It's a little bit harder to stand on, but it does sop up the bumps pretty good with that Showa suspension. I quite enjoy riding it down logging roads. I think it's a great time. Now, if you wanted to do adventures that were more off-road biased, that involved trails, I would probably not recommend this. Can you take it down a trail? Yes. Have I? Yes. But it's not a great idea. With the motor hanging off of the rear swing arm, you're really risking it going down trails. If you hit a single rock on that case, and it's a lot more accessible for rocks and other debris to hit, you could be in some serious trouble. Also, CVT transmission, probably not ideal on a trail, but you can take it. I have taken it. In fact, this has an OHV Park sticker on it, and in a previous video, I did ride it down a Jeep trail. Overall, I think the general use case for a bike like this is as an around town bike, something you can run errands on, get groceries, you can have a Sunday fun day on, and that you can also go on small adventures, even take moto camping if you want to. All in all, I think this is a great little bike. I think it's perfect for some scenarios, but it's certainly not a big adventure machine. And I think that the price point is a little bit high for what you're getting, but it's very cool, it's well styled, and it makes a lot of practical sense as a bike with its efficiency and its storage and its ability to be a little around town runner and errand getter. That's it for the Honda ADV150. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment down below, and I'll catch you in the next one.